So this is an actual exam room where I would personally measure the blood pressure on a patient, have them seated on a chair. Once we know that the first reading has been elevated, then I'll move over to the BP2 machine on the other side of the patient and set her up for her series of 6 readings in 6 minutes. I'll explain the process and what she should expect, and I'll explain that it might be a little uncomfortable, the cuff might get tight, but the whole purpose is for her to sit still, relax, and try not to think about the blood pressure while it's being measured. I'll sit in the room for the first reading, make sure there aren't any errors on the machine, and then I'll step out of the room for the additional 5 readings, which will be another 5 minutes. I'll grab a pillow from the exam table to make sure that the patient's arm is supported and the cuff will be at heart level. And I'll just ask the patient to raise her sleeve so that I can place the right size cuff on the patient. Perfect, thank you. And with our cuffs, we have our range, which helps us determine if the cuff is the right size. We want to make sure that it's always within that range. Place the cuff, the arm, ask the patient to rest her arm, and then we'll turn on the machine and start the procedure. Our BP2 machine is designed to give us minute intervals in between the 6-minute cycle. So we're set at 1-minute intervals, so she'll get 6 readings in 6 minutes. Press the start button and we point it away from the patient's sight. Perfect. Her blood pressure is obviously controlled, so then we would turn off the machine and let her go about her visit with the doctor.
Why don't you go ahead and say, if it weren't.
But if it was not, so if we had an elevated reading and no error message, I would then step out of the room and let the machine continue to take the 5 additional readings 1 minute apart. The machine is designed to drop the first number, the one that we saw with me in the room, and then to average out the other 5 numbers. And then at the end of this 6-minute cycle, the average will pop up on the machine for the doctor to review.
And then re-mention how you turn it away.
Okay. And the purpose of turning the machine away from the patient is
You know what? Let me do a close-up on this for editing purposes. So, go.
So the purpose of turning the machine away from the patient before this process starts is to make sure they're not focused on the number. And when we do leave the room after the first reading, we want to make sure that they're not trying to reach out and see what their numbers are. We have the option to go through all of the numbers with the patient. If they wanted to know what all their numbers were, there is an option for us to do so. But the key is to make sure that they are not focused on the actual blood pressure numbers. They're focusing on somewhere fun or less stress than the doctor's office.
Perfect. Okay, Katie, don't move. I'm just going to get some sort of cutaway shots for editing purposes. Thank you.